The 2025-26 season is fast approaching, and last night the La Liga schedule dropped. And here's a look at some of the key dates to put on your calendar. The season kicks off on August 16th, and the following weekend, newly promoted Real Oviedo play in their first home game. The Madrid derby takes place September 28th at Atleti, and then the first edition of El Clasico will be at Real Madrid October 26th. And the second Madrid derby at Real Madrid will take place on March 22nd. On May 10th, we will see the first Clasico at the new Camp Nou, going to be absolutely amazing. I'm excited for that one. And then the season wraps up on May 24th, 2026. Phil, great to have you with us. Let's start there and what you're hearing about a potential delay to the start of the season for Real Madrid.
Hi, guys. I can't believe we're talking about the new season already. It just felt like the last season ended. But yeah, with those fixtures coming out last night, we're looking ahead to what's coming up. And Nico is absolutely right. Now, the Players' Union had requested for Real Madrid a certain amount of rest days, of holiday days between the end of the Club World Cup and the start of the new season. The agreement that they thought was in place was that if Real Madrid get to the quarterfinals of the Club World Cup, that first game for Real Madrid would be postponed. But now La Liga and the Federation are kind of walking back on that, saying, maybe not. Maybe we'd like Real Madrid to actually play in the first game because they're not big fans of the Club World Cup anyway. So we'll see how that develops. But as Nico said, that is definitely an issue to monitor in the days and weeks going forward.
All right, Phil, so that's one story. Let's get into some of the other storylines that you are watching this season. Should we kick it off with Xabi Alonso? I mean, that is really perhaps one of the biggest.
It certainly is. And as Nico said, how much time is Xabi Alonso going to get at the helm of Real Madrid? And I was thinking back to the last time Carlo Ancelotti was manager of Real Madrid and Carlo Ancelotti left Real Madrid. And do you remember who replaced him? You might not, because it was Rafa Benitez, and he was only there for a few months. It all fell apart and it didn't go very well. I'm not saying that this is going to happen with Xabi Alonso, but expectations are high, pressure is massive, and Xabi Alonso has never dealt with anything like this in his short managerial career. That said, looking at the fixture calendar as the first few games, it's been relatively kind for Real Madrid. You know, they play Osasuna at home, Mallorca, Espanyol. They're not massive games until that first derby against Atlético Madrid. So it's a pretty gentle way for them to ease into the La Liga season, having been thrown in at the deep end with the Club World Cup. And I think the Club World Cup has also, if not bought him a bit of time, but at the moment, I think he's done the minimum expected. Got to the quarterfinal. Looks like the team are progressing and playing better by each game. So here in Spain, people are feeling quite positive about what they've seen with Real Madrid. Now, if they go out of the quarters against Dortmund, it's disappointing, but it's not a disaster. If they'd gone out in the group stages, like Atletico Madrid did, then people would be getting a bit nervous, shall we say, and there would be more pressure on Xabi Alonso. But I think he's got a bit of margin. And also, people are impressed by what he says, the changes that he makes, the way he dominates games by being a very interventionist manager. People like what they see so far from Xabi Alonso, so I think he's got a bit of a margin. The caveat being, this is Real Madrid. The pressure is massive. And if you lose 2 games in a row, everyone's on your back.
Phil, let's talk about Atlético Madrid now that you mentioned them crashing out of the group stage. A failure, really, for a club the size of Atlético Madrid, especially with the way that they spent at the beginning of last season, or I don't know if this is a continuation of last season or whatever it is. They were built to compete on all fronts, and they came agonizingly short on absolutely everything. So what does that entail going into this new season, especially when they've been linked to the likes of really good footballers?
Yeah, you mentioned last summer they spent big, but they also sold quite a lot as well. There was a really big turnover at Atletico Madrid. The net spend wasn't actually quite as big as the eye-catching 180 million euro figure, because they got big money for João Felix, for Samu, for Alvaro Morata, Sojuncu. They brought in quite a lot of money. There was a big turnover. And because there was a big turnover, you look at the first few games of the season and it felt like Diego Simeone didn't know what his best team was trying to figure out, get people into different positions. They only won 5 of their first 11 games in La Liga. He had Julian Alvarez playing left midfield some games. He had his son playing left back sometimes. He didn't know what to do with Conor Gallagher. I think he still doesn't know what to do with Conor Gallagher. So another summer of big transition at Atletico Madrid. Loads of players coming, loads of players going as well. Kind of feels like Simeone needs to get it right from the start, because all those points they dropped at the start of the season, then they went on an amazing run, and they were actually winter champions of La Liga. They were top at the midway point. That start, they dropped so many points. I think that, they can't afford to do that again. And if we're going to see another summer of massive transition, loads of players in, loads of players out, Simeone needs to hit the ground running.
All right, well, Phil, speaking of players that could be on the way out, let's transition over to Atlético and one of their stars, winger Nico Williams. What's the latest you're hearing on him and a potential move?
So things are actually getting quite tense between Nico Williams, Atlético, Barcelona. Barça have been very, very open in their pursuit of Nico Williams, and that is what Atlético have not liked at all. If you want to buy a player, come, give the transfer fee, pay the buyout clause, talk to the player. All this publicly trying to seduce him, that hasn't gone down well at all at Athletic Club. And Athletic Club have actually pointed out to La Liga, hey, these guys, they can't actually sign Nico Williams, can they? Because they're not financially solvent at the moment. And La Liga have come out and said, no, at the moment, Barcelona cannot sign Nico Williams. It has not stopped people from Barcelona talking about the signing of Nico Williams. Sporting director Deco's talked about it. Even Dani Olmo, who was the subject of a pretty difficult move last summer. He wasn't registered in time. He's come out and said to Nico, these things get sorted out in the end, trying to say, come on, mate, come to Barca. It'll be okay in the end. Nico Williams and his agent, obviously, they want to move to Barcelona. He wants to move to Barcelona, but he wants to be registered by Barcelona. He doesn't want to be sitting in the stands waiting for Barcelona to balance the books so they can actually register the player. So he wants some kind of guarantee from Barcelona that he will be registered. And that might be a little bit difficult.
Good luck, brother.
Good luck, my friend. Barcelona cannot do that. Athletic Club return to training on the 9th of July. So in a week's time, they want this sorted out one way or another, because it's going to be kind of embarrassing if Nico has to come back to training. Oof. And this is a mural, by the way, in Bilbao, which has been defaced. It was a mural of Iñaki Williams and Nico Williams. It's been defaced and by Athletic Club fans. It's written in the Basque language, basically saying, if you don't want to be here, get out. It's been defaced a few times, actually. So, yeah, the sentiments amongst Athletic Club fans, Nico isn't necessarily wanted anymore, basically. If you don't want to be here, leave. But he hasn't left yet.
Wow, July, what did you say is the first day of training?
They're training next week, 1 week's time, they're back in training.
That's crazy. The quick turnaround, we talked about Real Madrid, and now you toss out this July 9th date. I'm thinking of a newly promoted side in Real Oviedo, who were just in the promotion playoff. We talked about it a week and a half, two weeks ago, and their turnaround must be really quickly. But Phil, talk to me about how important it is for a club like Real Oviedo to be back in the first division after decades?
25 years.
That's incredible. Please put it into perspective what it is for this club who kind of spiraled out of control financially and is finally back.
Yeah. 24 years since they've been in La Liga. They're a really big historic club, but they've had massive financial issues, absolutely huge. They nearly went out of business twice. They went down to the Tercera División, which is the fourth tier of Spanish football. And that is not confusing. Tell me about it. But it's not like the fourth tier in England, League Two, which is professional, good stands, good stadium. No, the Tercera, fourth tier in Spain, is basically playing in a village park. And Real Oviedo were down there playing, and they were taking 4,000-5,000 fans to these away games. They got up from the Tercera into the Segunda B, which is the third tier. Then they got up to the Segunda, and now finally they're back in the Primera. And they did it with hometown hero Santi Cazorla coming back to his hometown club and getting them promoted at the age of 40. It's an absolutely beautiful story. This is a club that was saved by its fans. They were going out of business in 2012, and they did a share option. Fans from Oviedo bought shares, but fans from all over the world were invited to buy shares as well. I've got a friend who's an Oviedo supporter. He emotionally blackmailed me into buying a couple of shares that only cost $40. So there I gave my little piece to Oviedo's resurrection, and here they are. And it is an incredible story. Listen, as you said, Nico. They just got promoted. They haven't had a long time to prepare for this La Liga season, and they're the absolute favourites to go straight back down. But all over the country this season, you will see thousands and thousands of Oviedo fans travelling, because this is a historic campaign for them.
Phil has shares in Oviedo, lost complete objectivity from here on out.
I don't know, Phil, that might be a problem. But hey, maybe you'll get good return on those investments if Oviedo is able to go against the odds and stay up in La Liga.
Yeah, I've got two. They're not big. It costs $40. Yeah.